Going on, everybody? So I'm going to flip the camera over in a second, do a little live stream of me mixing some drums since I got to work on this record anyways with this new plugin called HitStrip from DJ Swivel. So I'm going to do a more in-depth actual real tutorial where I do the screen grab and screen share like that on mixing drums. But until then, I do have a full review on HitStrip and a full tutorial on HitStrip work. So I'll put that at the top of the screen if y'all want to check that out and watch the video. It's actually a nice little tutorial on how to mix vocals as well. But right now, we're going to do a little tutorial on how to mix drums. We're going to use this new plugin called HitStrip. It's a really nice, useful, intuitive channel strip that it's affordable, it's easy to use. I'm getting to know it, so I was like, I got to mix these drums anyways. Let me just pull up a quick live. Real quick, before I begin though, do not take any of this information as gospel, as this is how you mix drums. These techniques that I'm about to do on mixing this kick drum and this rim shot are only going to work for this song, those samples, in this song, in this key, at this tempo, with these instruments and this vocalist. So these same things that I'm doing here where I may boost at a frequency or cut at a different frequency, not going to work at another song. It's all about knowing what you're hearing and getting it out from there. But the more you watch it, the more that you develop your ears. So let's go ahead and flip this camera over here. We got a little plug-in here called HitStrip. I'm working on a little salsa drill record here with Paris. She's a really good R&B singer down here in Atlanta. Let me answer this question. Quick question, since you got studio, is it worth it to have gear in 2025? Hey man, gear doesn't lose its value. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can literally, any piece of this gear, or what's dope about like these microphones and stuff like that, is they do not lose their value. You know, software loses its value, sneakers loses its value, cars lose their value. What's really dope though is these pieces of gear don't lose their value. So 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, if you're broke or life isn't going well, you can sell these and get pretty much what you paid for, if not more, if it's considered vintage. So gear is absolutely worth it. But not until gear is worth it when you have everything else knocked out. Your software, your interface, your microphones, plugins, everything that you need. Then you can start investing in gear. All right, so let's go ahead, do a little drum action. So we're going to start with a kick drum here. So let me hit play so y'all know what record that we are working on here. Cool, and right now what we are working on is we're going to work on this little drum section real quick. I'm going to show you how I'm EQing the kick and the rim shot. You know, just a nice little drill pattern here. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to start with the kick here. Let me put this on a little loop. Y'all already know, most of y'all are not on day one anymore. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put a little high pass filter out here, get rid of this low rumble here. So let's go ahead and do that. On HitStrip, all we got to do is just click on one of the edges here and we'll be able to create a filter. If we do the left or right, it will create a filter. If we want to create a shelf, all we got to do is just, let me put that on the screen better for y'all. There you go. If we want to grab a shelf, all we got to do is, well, that's how you create a bell. Just grab anywhere on the screen and be able to grab a bell. But if you want to create a shelf, you just grab off by the side here and you'll be able to create a shelf as well. So that'll be useful information. So let's start with this kick drum here and let's get rid of, we're going to start by removing stuff. All right, so I'm just removing, I don't know, up to like 30-ish right now just to get rid of some of this. If there was not an 808, I'd probably keep it. You know, I might even do something like that if there wasn't an 808. But there is, and that's why I said these tips are only going to apply for this song. All right, so now let's get rid of some of this boxiness. All right. Boxiness usually lives in this area. I don't know. You say 275, 600. Some people may want to go on a full on argument with me in the comment sections and say the boxiness doesn't start to 350 and maybe only goes to 7. Who fucking cares? Just get rid of the bad shit, y'all. Yep, see, that sounds bad to me. So hold down Option on HitStrip, and you see it locks it in place, so I can't go left or right and change the frequency, but I can change the dB. So let's get rid of that. All right, I do hear a little resonating frequency that I'm not loving here. Sorry, y'all, that was a tricky one. That one was there, but it wanted me to go down a little bit low. See, because with all my education and training, this is why I said don't take this as gospel, because it only works for this kick drum and this song with these samples and these instruments and this vocals in this tempo and this key. Because I did the same thing that, I'm not supposed to do, and that's my education taught me that resonance usually lives somewhere in that 103 to 120, and I kept going off of what my education was telling me, and guess what happened? That's not where it lived at all. It actually turns out that resonating frequency lived at 99, and I was scared to look down there because all of my education and research taught me that resonating frequency is probably here. That's why you can't always go off of that. Okay, so we found that. Let us clean up one more little area that I'm hearing. Yeah, it's just a little mud. Now, what's really cool about HitStrip is we also have a dynamic EQ. So some of these resonating frequencies, let's go ahead and make that dynamic so it kind of compresses the sound down a little bit when it gets too resonating. All right, and I want to do that over here as well. Perfect. It's already sounding better. Okay, now that we're cutting, because I usually like to cut stuff before I boost stuff. And the reason why I like to do that, why don't I flip? Y'all can see me for a second. Reason why I like to cut and remove stuff first is, let's say that we have like a mirror that we're looking at and we want to make it shiny, but the mirror is smudged up. So if we add EQ, that's like adding a sparkle shiner, and that's not going to make the mirror. It's not going to give the mirror more clarity because it's smudged up. And adding a sparkle shiner is not going to remove the smudges. We need to remove the smudges off of that mirror first, so that way we can actually hear what's going on with the mirror or the kick drum. And once we remove everything, all the smudges, then when we add that sparkle spray after our additive EQ, it's going to enhance what's already there. But first, we need to clean up what is causing us to not be able to see in the mirror or causing us not to be able to hear, masking the sound. So that's why we do a little cleanup first. So we got that here. Nice little cleanup. So what's really cool about this particular EQ is we have other options, not just dynamic, and we can change each node to different things here, right? These nodes right here are dynamic. This node here is just a regular old EQ. This one right here, I'm going to switch to an EQ style called tonal. And what tonal does is it just enhances the tone of this instrument. So we also have one here that we're going to get to in a moment called transient. And this one right here is going to EQ the initial transient, the initial thud of a kick, the initial clack of a snare, that initial attack. That's transient. Now, tonal is going to do more of the sustained notes and more of the fundamental notes. So we're going to get more of the EQ after that initial attack. And that's what I want to do down here in the low end is I'm going to use this tonal EQ to look for that fundamental. Now, a lot of times the fundamental is going to be somewhere down here between that 50 to 95, 98, somewhere in there. But you know what? Who cares what a textbook says or a YouTube channel says or an Instagram post says about where the fundamental is on a kick drum? None of that fucking matters. What actually fucking matters is, does it sound good here? Does it sound good here? Does it sound good like this? Does it sound good like that? Does it sound good like this? That's all that fucking matters. Okay, so let's go ahead and look for where this fundamental is of this kick drum so we can increase just the tone. And then later, I'm going to increase the attack over here. Oh, that's got some good knock right there. I like that. Okay, now same thing. Let's just add a little transient EQ here so we can hear that initial little clack or initial little strike of the kick drum. Now, what I like to do for kick drums here, again, a YouTube tutorial or a YouTube post would tell you that this is fucking stupid and you shouldn't do this. Oh well. So anyways, I like to look for that initial attack of the kick drum somewhere between 2,000 and 8,000. And that way we can hear it cut through the mix a little bit and we can hear it through iPhone speakers or Bluetooth speakers. And we're going to use this transient EQ here to get that initial attack to cut through. There we go. Cool. We got the initial clack right there going on. So let's go ahead and put this in the mix before we do some other stuff. And I'm going to move the chain around a little bit. Cool. We're losing a little bit in the mix here. But I think we can get that back with some, it's really at this point just a volume thing. So let's go ahead and move over and add some compression here. All right, so on HitStrip here, we have our signal flow here. We have a channel strip, and we can move things. So I wanted to start out with EQ just because I wanted to remove a lot of this stuff before it actually hit the compressor. Because if I don't want this in here, then why do I even want it to control the compressor to begin with? And then later we'll add in an exciter and transient designer. We don't need a de-esser for this, so we'll throw that right at the end of the chain. We don't need to use our gate right now because this is just a kick drum sample, not a live kick drum. Okay, so let's go ahead and get some compression in here. Okay, when it comes to compression on drums, what I like to do is I like to do a slow attack. That way the initial transient is, the compression starts a lot slower on the initial transient, because if the compression is too fast, when that initial transient of a kick or a snare comes, it's going to compress right away, and we're going to lose that clack or that punch or that grit that cuts through. And so I like to do a slower attack, so that way the initial transient can cut through and then the compression starts afterwards. Cool. And I'm really only reducing by about -2, -3. That's also why I have the ratio set so low. So we have a slow attack. I'm going to do a medium release. The only reason why I want a medium release is because I don't want it to come up too quickly. I don't want the compression to end too soon, but I also don't want the compression to just take forever. The thing that I'm more focused on is that the attack is not too fast. The release, I kind of just want to meet in the middle. I don't want something that's too fast or too slow. And then for drums too, the knee just really, to simplify it, the knee right here just tells you or just gives the compression how forgiving the compression is going to be. And so I want the compressor to be a little bit more forgiving. All right, let's make up some of our gain here, add in some of our volume. Okay, now we have a decision to make, and I don't know what the correct decision is. I'm going to be honest, guys. I don't know if we should do an exciter next or the transient designer. There's benefits to both. If we do the transient designer first, then what's going to happen is as we enhance our transients, then when we excite it, the enhanced transients are also going to be excited. So I'm trying to decide if that's what we want to do, or if we want to excite all of everything that we removed and enhanced and the compression, if we want to excite that and then add transients after the exciter. So I'm trying to make a decision on what I think would be best. I'm going to say this, and it's probably wrong, and people can argue with me in the comment sections, but you'll just help my numbers go up the more comments that I get. So if I'm wrong, this will actually help me do better with the algorithm, because people cannot resist telling me that I'm wrong. Okay, so the reason why I'm going to do transient designer first is because in my mind, enhancing the transient is more important than exciting it, and I'm going to do more of a wet dry blend with the exciter anyway. So I want to have our transient designer kind of as more, it's more important to me. Okay, so let's go ahead and just enhance this transient so the kick drum cuts through a little bit more. So what I'm doing over here is I'm choosing what frequency that the transient is going to happen. And I definitely want the transient in this area for sure. So I'm going to go a little bit lower. I'm probably going to go more down here because the reason why I want to do more like 47 or 50, you know, maybe more like 44, 45. Let's do that. Is because I think the 808 is going to be hanging out here a lot more. And I definitely do want the initial transient to be in this area. I want that to really hit. So now we can also hit a high cut because we really don't need too much of this up here. That's just noise. All right. So we got our gain. Let's enhance the transient. Choose how long we want the transient. Oh, y'all can't even see that? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so bad at this live stuff. Sorry. So here's what I did, right? I enhanced the gain here. Let me pause this. Enhanced the gain. Did a little low cut here to remove the, or not remove, because this doesn't remove anything out of the EQ. It just tells the transient which area, or it tells the transient shaper which area that it's going to enhance the transient. So I told it to ignore everything below 45 hertz, and I told it to ignore everything above 8,700 hertz, right? So there we go. Now I feel confident we can add an exciter. What's really cool about this is on our exciter here, we can choose where we want to excite it to start with our low end and also where we want it to start with our high end. And then we can increase the wet dry of both the high and low. So what I always start out with is I'm purposely going to over enhance the gain on, or the wet dry, just so we can hear what it's doing. All right, so we got the gain enhance, and now we're going to do a sweep around here with this frequency and find a good frequency to enhance. That's got some good knock there. So I'm going to bring this down. Man, every part of me wanted to go up by 200, 250 to really get it to cut through, but I know for a fact that I'm going to want the vocals to eat up that area a little bit later. Not all the way, but it's like we got a guitar that's going to eat up that area. And then also the vocals, because it's a female vocal, I might want to enhance that area down there just to give her a little bit more body weight and warm up the vocals a little bit. So I'm just being mindful, even though that sounded good, I'm just being mindful of what's going to happen in the mix later. All right, now let's enhance our high-end frequencies because I actually think this is going to help us hear the kick drum a lot better if we enhance this high-end frequency. So again, we're going to do the same thing where we over dramatize and overdo the wet gain just so we can hear it. And then we're going to use this knob and search around what frequency in the high end we want to excite. Okay. So up here, because this sample has a little extra like added sound up there to, I don't know, it's like a effect or something, it's distorting that too much. So as much as I want to distort up here to get it to cut through, we do not have that option right now because of that extra noise that's up there. But I think down here, we might be able to find a good spot in the low mid the mid range here, the high mid range, my bad. I'm just also being mindful because this is where we hear vocals really well. So let's go ahead and find a little area to enhance. That actually sounds good. All right, let's back off with our wet dry. Cool. All right. Now, right here, let's add a limiter here just to enhance the volume a little bit and kind of also just make sure everything's steady and not getting too outrageous. All right, so if we enable the limiter here, you'll see we have a gain reduction that starts. I'm going to slow the attack and release down here. This is for the limiter. So I purposely overdid it on the attack and release one time just so you could hear it, and then we kind of back down from there. Cool. All right. So let's oh yeah, we got this color knob up here. This is kind of like how FL kind of has that color to its engine, to its playback engine that really gives stuff a hard knock and punch that you really only feel like you hear in FL. Well, anyways, we have a knob like that. So let's go ahead and add that to this and see what that sounds like. Oh, wow. Wow. This might be cool for sound design later. Wow, that really changes things. Actually was not expecting it to change that much. That's cool though, because we have options to do sound design and make our own sounds, because did you listen to how it sounds now? And I'll back that off. So here's without it. Wow. That's awesome. I just discovered how, I mean, I know that it's going to change things. We could do that with EQ and a transient shaper and exciter, but I didn't know the color knob was going to have such a drastic change, which is really cool because we can change things in the future if we want and make our own unique sounds. But now that we know that, we maybe don't use quite as much of a percentage. I'm really just trying to get some more knock to it. I'll rock with that. Cool. All right, let's bypass it. Hear how it sounds. So this is with nothing. No EQ, compression, transient designer, exciter, limiter, color knob, none of that. This is without it. And then we'll go ahead and add this back in. So pay attention to this little orange button here. We're in bypass. And here's with it. Oh, Man, I know it sucks because y'all hearing it through the camera right now like that, but I'm in these Slate VSX headphones and they sound pretty good. I'll do a full tutorial where I do the screen capture. It's just, man, it's just a lot to have to do all of that. It's a lot on the computer. It's just, it's a lot to set up because you got to run so many different softwares, man. You got to run this software, you got to run a screen capture software, you got to run a software that routes all the information inside of here into your screen capture. You got to have a recording of yourself doing the actual tutorial. You got to record the audio on, I record it through a nice microphone. Well, your standard microphone. I shouldn't quite say nice, but better microphone than like my phone. But anyways, it's just a lot to do those, but I will do a tutorial on mixing drums, an actual tutorial instead of a live feed soon. I just wanted to do this real quick. Again, we have a full review and tutorial on this plugin. Cool. So let's go ahead and hear how this sounds in the mix. Here's without it. This is just the kick drum. Oh yeah, we got a lot more punch and knock there. Okay, real quick, before we get off of this live stream, because I got some stuff to do, some chores to do, and also my girlfriend gets off of work in like a half hour, and we got errands to do, and we got a little movie night that we're going to do. So let me wrap this up. All right, as annoying as it is, let's get a more consistent loop. Just so we can actually know what we're doing. Maybe shorter so it's less annoying. Okay, so we're going to go through this a lot faster because we really went through how HitStrip works on the kick drum as far as the functions. So let's go ahead and EQ this. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to put a high pass filter on here because there's a lot of information in this snare drum. We don't need that. And I shouldn't say snare. It's actually a stick that we're hearing here. If you're a drummer, you'd call it a stick. If you're everybody else, you would call it a rim shot. But if you tell a drummer, do a rim shot, they're going to not do this. They're going to do what is actually considered a rim shot. But for the sake of samples, we call these rim shots. Okay. We got rid of all the rumble. We don't need that. Let's find some of this boxiness. Ooh, that might have been it. Oh, that sounds awful. Let's get rid of that. I do not like this little tinginess up there. Let's find that. That sucks, man. Let's get rid of that. Oh, let's use a dynamic on that. That is rough, man. Okay. So a little bit more boxiness. Let me find that. Ugh. There we go. It's already sounding better. Let's go ahead and bypass the EQ. Hell yeah. Good to go. All right. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to find the body of the snare down here and see where that's at. Again, a YouTube tutorial, a textbook, an Instagram picture, a TikTok video would probably tell you that the fundamental, the low end of the body of the snare is in some other fucking place than what I'm showing you, but who fucking cares, because it sounds good when we just find out where it is versus what people tell us where the fundamental of the body is. We're just going to go where we can hear the body, and we're not going to focus. Fuck this number. This fucking number does not matter. I don't care. We're going to focus on if it sounds like shit or if it sounds good. And you know what? Because we're looking for the body, I think this is a good chance for us to flip over to our tonal EQ. And again, that's just going to enhance the fundamental and the sustain of the area that we're EQing versus the initial attack and transient that we're going to do later with the transient EQ up here. Okay, so let's go ahead and boost this body. Add some meat to this snare, some grit. Yep, I like that. That's good. Let's add a little bit of the clack to it, you know, a little bit more of that strike. And that's where we're going to switch to our transient EQ, which is the opposite of the tonal EQ. This is going to start the initial attack, the initial transient. It's going to EQ that area of this rim. Sounds good here. Only thing that I'm worried about is later when we go to do the vocals, I wonder if that's going to compete. But speaking of the vocals, what I like to do when it comes to snares and rims, I had learned this from Mixed by Ali. That's who it was for the shit that he does for like Kendrick and stuff. We're going to remove the top end from the snare with this shelf. Even though this stuff sounds really good, but the thing is we kind of actually want to create room for the vocals. That's why I said you can't use any of this for gospel and be like, oh, this is how you always EQ a kick or always EQ a snare. It depends on everything else that's going on in this song. And Paris recorded on a Sony C800G, so there's a lot of high end in her vocals. So I actually want to remove this so she's not, so this snare is not competing with her same area. Yep, just gives it a little bit more warmth. I know right now it sounds like shit because it's soloed, but if we add it back in the mix. That was an annoying loop. I didn't expect that. I'll show y'all later. But y'all get it. It's not competing with her vocals as much. I'll show you in a little bit, though. All right. Let's just, for the sake of it, add some compression just to add a little bit more punch. And add a little bit more loudness to it with our makeup game. Cool. Oh, remember here, we're going to do a slow attack here. Because again, I don't want the compressor to hit that initial transient and take away that, because it's going to make the drums sound quieter and it's going to make them sound less punchier because we're removing the punch by having the compression start right away. But if we go slower, the compression is going to let that initial transient hit and then start kind of more like this. So let's go ahead, find a slow attack. Cool. All right, let's start getting some gain reduction. Okay, again, I'm just looking for about -2, -3, making sure it doesn't sound like shit. Probably lower down the ratio here, 3-to-1. You know, the signal going in versus the signal going out of the compressor. That's all that first and second number is. I like that. Let's do a medium release. Again, I don't want the compression to end immediately after. But I also don't want it to slowly just take forever, that it's still compressing by the time the next snare or rim hits. So we'll do a medium. All right. This just chooses how forgiving our compression is. So let's go ahead and make it a little bit more forgiving. Maybe too forgiving. And then let's go ahead, add some makeup gain here. We're just bringing back volume. That's all. Cool. All right. So without it, with it. All right. This is a really good area for a really good instrument to do some transient designing on. Snares, rims, and sticks are good for that. So let's go ahead and have our transient designer. Again, we're going to choose where our transient is going to be happening here. So I don't think we need to enhance the transient of anything below 180. I also don't think we need to enhance the transient. Let me zoom in so y'all see what I'm doing. Of anything above 8,000, just because I want the vocal to really have that area. All right, let's go ahead. Lower the length. Yeah, lower the length. We don't want that transient going for an eternity. And now let's increase the gain so we can increase that transient. Cool. Go ahead, add a little bit of a limiter here. All right, we'll add some of this color knob. Oh, that sounds good. Let me overdo it. Okay. I like how this sounds. A lot, actually. Do we want to add stereo width? Let's just hear how it sounds, but I don't think it's a good choice. Actually, that's fucking cool. I wish y'all could hear this not on my iPhone speakers. I swear I'll do an actual tutorial on drums. Wow, that sounds good. Cool. Once bypass. Wow, okay. Let's turn down, that sounds good. Let's turn the volume down a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and hear what this sounds like in the mix. Let me bypass it. So this orange button right here, when it's active, when this orange button is engaged, that means it's bypassed and none of the stuff that we did inside of HitStrip is going to be activated. And then when I click it, you'll hear it. Definitely has some enhancement there. So, you know, that's just kind of how we would do a kick and a snare there. And then, you know, we have everything eventually working its way down to a drum sum right here. And I have another DJ Swivel plugin that I've been using the last, boy, when did you release this? With three years maybe? I don't know, but it is now permanently in my drum sum template that it always, everything runs through this because in my opinion, BDE is the best sounding compression and exciter for drums. All right, so I'm just gonna add that. I'm just gonna do a quick little EQ here on the whole drum sum. Cool, whatever. I guess this is how you would how I would use HitStrip on some drums. So hopefully this was somewhat useful. Again, I just wanted a quick go live here before I have I got to knock out all these errands and grocery shopping and pick some stuff up at the pharmacy and then have movie night with my lady. So I will do a tutorial, a full one where I do the screen capture. I'll do that in like a week or two. I got y'all, but I just want to go live real quick. So anyways, if y'all like it, I have it in the description below. If y'all want to check it out, there's a free trial. Also, don't forget to use my code REAL15 to save 15% off of any DJ Swivel plugin, including HitStrip and BDE. Also, does not matter if it's on sale or not. He gave me a code that works no matter what. If it's on sale or not on sale, you'll always be able to use that code REAL15. Anyways, yeah, that's in the link in the description below. I'll also have at the top of the screen, and I'll also have it in the pinned in the comment section. I have a full actual real review that I did of this plugin, and I also did a tutorial, and there's also a lot of useful tutorial techniques of mixing vocals in there, because that was the example that I used. Actually, this song right here, I use Paris's vocals to mix this. So anyways, that's an actual tutorial, an actual video with the screams capture and all the audio captured inside of the Pro Tools session. So if you listen on studio monitors or a nice pair of headphones, you'll actually be able to hear what we're doing versus what I was doing here. This was just more of a live demonstration. Sometimes it's just good to see stuff live. Anyways, I will catch y'all next time. Hopefully this is helpful. If it is, be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, because you know what? It does help the channel grow and allows me to keep doing videos like this, because if you like the video, then it tells YouTube that, hey, maybe somebody else might like this video, and show it to them. And the more people see it, the more this channel grows, and the more that I can do this versus having to take other gigs to pay the bills and take care of my family and take my girl and I out for a nice night out on the town. The more that this channel grows, the more that I can do these tutorials. So anyways, I'll catch y'all